Hey everybody, it's Tony with Big T Bariatric, and I'm back with another reaction video. I can't believe it's Thursday already, but hey, we're here. It's Thursday, it's February 2nd, Groundhog Day. The groundhog saw his shadow, which means 6 more weeks of winter, but thankfully they're only like 30% right. So hopefully that means spring is coming sooner and the groundhog is wrong, and if not, we could always take him out back and shoot him in the head. Anyways, just kidding. I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. Just a quick reminder, if you're watching this and it's Thursday morning, that we have our live stream tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I am bringing in my friend Cassie Nova. She had the bypass surgery. So this is going to be more of an informational type live stream. We're going to be talking about our experiences getting weight loss surgery. She's going to talk about her PCOS, and she has that, how her weight loss has helped with her symptoms, and also what it's like being pregnant after having bypass surgery. So it's going to be a really great discussion. So I hope you guys can come in and join us. We'd greatly appreciate it. Also, if you are not subscribed to our channel, please hit the subscribe button down below. It's down there. I greatly appreciate it. Please like, please comment, please help the algorithm as we get closer to 3,000 subscribers. So what I want to react to today is another TED Talk, and this one is from Golda Poretsky, and she talks about why it's okay to be fat. And so this should be a very interesting conversation. It is copyrighted, so I do have to pause frequently, so just warning you. All right, let's get started.
When I was 4 years old, I was in nursery school, and I went to this nursery school that had this big backyard with lots of toys to play on. But there was one toy that everybody wanted in particular. It was this tricycle, and it allowed you to go really, really fast. And there was one little boy who had control over this tricycle. And in order to get a turn, you had to ask him. So one day, I actually got up the courage and I asked him for a turn on this tricycle. And he said to me, not yes or no or anything like that. He just said, "You're fat." And I cried.
Kids can be cruel, right? Like, growing up, I've always had other kids say, "Hey, you're fat," or point out my fatness. And so a way that I worked around that is by being funny. And so if I can be funny with people, they don't care that I'm fat. It sort of disarms them. And I remember being in like third, fourth grade, and I would run like during gym time, and we had the basketball poles outside, and I would literally run into the basketball poles and fall over, and everybody would crack up laughing, and it was the funniest thing in the world when you're younger. I did that intentionally. But yeah, kids can be cruel, but so can adults. I think adults stare and make comments more than kids do.
Because I knew even then that being called fat and being fat was one of the worst things that you could possibly be. So I went home that day and I talked to my mom and I told her what had happened. And she said to me, "Well, maybe we can go on a diet. And then maybe kids won't make fun of you."
So it sounds like it was something that was transferred from mother to daughter, not so much genetics as they try to play up. Even though genetics does play a role, like if you have a naturally slower metabolism. But if your mom's overweight and she has a certain lifestyle of eating, as a kid, you're going to develop that same lifestyle because you're going to eat what your parents eat.
For being fat. And she said this out of love and being a loving, caring mom and being someone who had lived through the same kind of thing.
So she understands then when we talk about people needing to go on a diet, it comes out of love. Like, you are overweight, you need to get that under control or else it's going to kill you, sort of thing. Whereas a lot of these people in the fat positivity movement are like, if you even mention the word healthy around them, they get triggered and blow a gasket.
Who had been called fat her whole life and had used weight loss techniques to try to mitigate that. And it sounded like a great idea to me. I would go on this diet. It seemed like a really grown-up thing to do. My mom was always on a diet. Her friends were always on a diet. And maybe I'd get out of the social stigma of being fat. And I would love to tell you that I went on this diet, I lost all the weight, and never had to diet again. But my dieting story is a lot like nearly everybody's dieting story. It starts with one diet, you lose some weight, you gain it back, and you go on another one, and another one, and another.
So why do people serial diet that way? I mean, it's an interesting thing. I've shared that experience myself. It wasn't until recently that I was able to do that. And I think a lot of it is because people try to do it alone. They think it's their own weight loss story. They're embarrassed being overweight, and so they're going to try a diet. And then when the diet doesn't work because they don't keep up with it, somehow it's the diet's fault that it didn't work. And so you're going to trash the diet and say, I'm not going to do this diet any longer. It didn't work for me. I gained the weight back. Well, that's because you gave up on it. It's not the diet's fault. It's not society's fault. It's your fault for giving up on the diet. And I've said it many times before, like any diet will work that has a calorie deficit, but you got to keep at it. And just because the scale might stop, or you might even go up a pound, here and there, because there are water weight fluctuations. So the scale is not always going to be static downward trend. And so you freak out. You say, oh, the diet's not working. I didn't lose any weight this week. What am I going to do? I'm tired of doing this. And then you end up binging or giving up on the diet. And then when you gain that weight back, you might even gain even more weight back. You're like, okay, this is getting out of control. I need to go on another diet. So you try another one, and the same thing happens. And it's like, you got to be patient with your weight loss journey. You're not always going to lose that 20, 30 pounds in a week that you want to do. So if you don't have those types of results, you're going to freak out and you're going to say the diet's not working because you're impatient with it. You got to give it a chance to work. You got to do it for more than a few weeks or even a month. You got to do it. You got to think of it like a lifestyle change and change your entire lifestyle. That's the only way that you're going to lose weight and sustain that weight loss. Is if you think of it as a lifestyle change rather than, oh, it's just a temporary diet. I need to lose some weight. And then if it doesn't give you the results you want immediately, you're going to freak out about it.
Another one. And over the next 24 years, I was always on a diet. I did diets that were prescribed by...
The biggest myth about fat and health. Fat is unhealthy and weight loss is healthy, really? There are tons of studies out there, tons of them, that debunk this. Fat is unhealthy. Fat is unhealthy. I'm tired of having to say this on this channel. This whole fat positivity movement is denying that fat can cause problems. It does. You cannot be healthy and you cannot be happy and be fat. It's just not possible. Just because you don't have any immediate health effects from being overweight doesn't mean the weight isn't crushing your lungs and causing you to snore and not get a good enough sleep at night. That doesn't mean it's not causing your heart to have to work even harder. It doesn't mean that it's not crushing your other organs and causing them to, start to fail. It doesn't mean you're not getting fat in your liver and developing fatty liver disease. That doesn't mean you didn't increase your risk of heart attack and stroke. It doesn't mean you're not pre-diabetic. Just because your numbers are okay right this second, especially when you're young, that doesn't mean anything. And weight loss is healthy. Like, that's part of the myth, that weight loss is healthy. What is unhealthy about weight loss? The fact that you don't want to diet? Maybe it's bad for your mental health because you'd rather be accepted as fat, and so having to try to lose weight makes it unhealthy because you don't have the drive and determination to successfully do it. Like, I don't get here why these things are myths. When all the evidence, all the scientific evidence backs up that fat is unhealthy and weight loss is healthy.
Pediatricians, nutritionists. I was on shakes, I was on diet pills, I was on diet pills that gave me the shakes. I was on every diet that you could possibly name. And in a lot of ways,
And that's the thing. She probably tried for a week or two, and it didn't work immediately. So she tried the pills, and that didn't work, and this didn't work, and that didn't work. I'm going to say right now, don't waste your time or money on those pills. Don't just jump from diet to diet because it didn't work immediately. Pick a diet, do your research, figure out if it can work for you. Pills are nonsense. Pills won't help you, okay? There are some new ones out there that say that they can help control blood sugar and they show some results and helping people lose weight. Oh, okay, fine. If those work for you, then that's fine. But there's no commercial product out there that's going to help you magically drop weight. Every single one of them says take it with a healthy diet and exercise. So You have to do the work. There's no literal magic pill out there that's going to do it for you. Even weight loss surgery is not doing it for me. I have to do the work. I have to exercise. I have to eat right.
Achieving at the same time. I had always had this dream to go to NYU on a full scholarship, and I got it. And I graduated summa cum laude, Phi Beta Kappa, all that good stuff. I went to law school, a top 5 law school. I started practicing law for a number of years at prestigious New York City law firms. I had friends, I had boyfriends. I was achieving in a lot of ways, but on the inside, I felt like a failure because I was consumed with how much I ate, how much I didn't eat, how much I exercised, how much I didn't exercise, what I weighed yesterday, what I'm going to weigh tomorrow.
She's probably consumed with that because she was overweight and she is miserable being overweight. But she's blaming society for making her miserable for being overweight, not the fact that the weight itself was making her miserable. So that's why this is called Why It's Okay to Be Fat. She's trying to justify her obesity, saying that everything's okay, that she's healthy, but at the same time she's miserable being overweight. So instead of putting the work in to lose the weight, she's blaming everybody else. She's blaming society for making her feel bad.
And I had what I would now call scale-dependent self-esteem. And here's a little bit of what scale-dependent self-esteem looks like. So just imagine I have a scale right here. You step on the scale, you look down, and the number is going down, right? And suddenly you feel like you're on top of the world. And you walk to work and you're feeling good. And you get to your office and everyone's complimenting you and they're asking, what's your secret? And you're like, my secret is this awesome diet. And everyone tells you,
I have to admit that that's true. You know, when the scale's going down and you're losing weight, like it really pumps me up when I step on the scale and it shows a loss. And it does sort of put a damper in things if it shows it's stagnant or I gained a pound. Since I've had weight loss surgery, you know, it's been more downs than ups. But if I eat the wrong thing, the scale will go up. So I've really learned not to rely on the scale so much. I know I'm losing fat because I'm barely eating very many calories, but you know, if I eat something with a lot of salt in it, which I'm eating a lot more proteins now, and that has a lot of salt in it, you know, the scale might be stagnant for a few days. That doesn't mean I didn't lose weight, you know. So water weight does play a part, but not, you know, hundreds of pounds like some people would make you believe. But yeah, there is something good about the scale when it's going down and everything's working out. But when it's not going down or it's stagnant or it shows you went up a pound, like that's when people give up on their diet. It's like, oh crap, this isn't working. I just need to give up. I need to try something completely new. And then they find themselves in this repetitive pattern of changing a diet and then going on a different diet. And okay, that didn't work. You know, just they don't give it enough time to work in their favor. I mean, it's not, you know, taking every single weight for an entire week and averaging them out and saying, okay, I only dropped a pound this week, so this is a failure, so I'm going to give up on this diet. No, you need to consider how much you lose over an entire month, because that gives you a better picture of what you're losing, not in a single day or in a single week, but over an entire month, which means you got to give it that long to work.
tells you how great you look. And there's this little tinge of anxiety. I have to admit, there's this little tinge of anxiety because this is probably diet number 15. And, you know, diets 1 through 14 started out this way and ended a different way. And so there's this tinge, but you believe, you have this sort of lottery thinking, and you think that this is the one, this is the answer to my weight loss dreams. Okay, but here's the flip side of scale-dependent self-esteem. Let's go back to that scale. Step on the scale, you look down, and the number on the scale is up. And suddenly, things don't feel as great.
And that's the thing too, you know, she was saying that, you know, the scale always goes down. It always looks good at first, and then you give up on the diet. Well, that's because you're always going to lose weight at first. As soon as you change your habits, your body is like gets overexcited. Sometimes you might even go through withdrawal, but you're going to drop a lot of water. And so you're tricked into thinking that, oh, wow, this diet's working. The scale went down right away, and it went down a lot. But as soon as it evens out, because your body starts regaining that water weight that it lost as it settles into a new pattern of eating, you're thinking, oh crap, this diet's not working anymore. So really it's those fluctuations that give people fright that, oh crap, I'm gaining weight back. Oh man, the scale's not going down, or I'm in a stall pattern. That doesn't mean you're not burning fat. It just means that your body is reabsorbing water to hold on to again. And so you end up giving up on a diet because your entire focus on whether or not it's working is what the scale says and nothing else. That's why you also got to measure your waist, measure your arms, measure your legs. See how much fat you're actually losing. Are you losing inches, but the scale's not moving? So water weight does play a part. It's not the excuse that we need to make it if things aren't going so well, but that's a natural part of how our body works around weight loss. We're still losing fat, but it will lose water and then it'll try to reabsorb water because it doesn't like to lose water. We don't like to be dehydrated, especially if we're not drinking enough water. And let's face it, most people don't drink enough water. If you don't drink enough water, your body's going to try to hold on to the water that you drink. So that's why I'm drinking a lot more water, hoping that it'll flush, old water out of my system. And my body thinks I'm being hydrated, so it has no reason to hold on to that water. Plus, fat loss needs a lot of water for it to work. So if you're not drinking a lot of water, that will really impact what the scale says.
And you feel ashamed, you feel like you failed, you walk to work feeling down, worrying about what people are going to say when you get to the office. And usually they don't say anything, but you're not getting those compliments, you're not getting that approval anymore.
Really? People don't notice 1 or 2 pounds of weight loss, especially when you're big. If I lost 50 pounds, yeah, that's very noticeable on me. But there's times I've lost 10, 15 pounds, and I was like, okay, how come nobody's saying nothing? Nobody notices that I've lost weight. And it's like, it's hard to see every pound that you lose. Just in that flip side, nobody's going to tell that you gained a pound or two. Like, we naturally fluctuate several pounds worth of water every single day. Like, there's no looking at somebody and saying, wow, you gained 2 pounds. You fat whatever you are. Like, nobody's going to be able to tell. Like, it takes like a good amount of weight for you to lose before people notice. And it takes a lot more weight gain before people notice.
And so your self-esteem is affected negatively. And here's the danger of this scale-dependent self-esteem. This is a huge danger. If you think about it, millions and millions of people are on diets at any given moment. This year alone, Americans are going to spend $62 billion on diets and diet products. So there are millions and millions of people going through this every day.
And they don't have to. Again, those diet products aren't going to work. You can't be suckered into what you watch on TV, and they promise all these results if you just buy this program and you buy that pill and you do this and do that. Just eat better, eat less, calories in, calories out. You don't need to jump into some fad diet. Of course, a lot of them do work if you give them a chance to work, but you don't need to buy all these extra products.
And I think that this is a problem. And I want to talk about this big myth about fat and health, which is that fat is unhealthy and weight loss is healthy. Let's talk about weight loss for just a moment. Let's talk about the realities of weight loss. So here's a statistic that I think is going to blow your minds. 95% of people who lose weight on a diet gain it back within 3 to 5 years. 95% of people, right?
Because a lot of them think of it as a diet, a temporary diet. They don't think of it as a lifestyle change. And that's why when you do something like keto, it's like, okay, am I going to be able to sustain removing carbs from my diet for the rest of my life? The answer is no. That's why I don't do keto anymore. I do a version of it, but I still allow myself to eat carbs from time to time. I'm not trying to sustain keto because I know I cannot stop from eating carbs and sugar for the rest of my life. And so that really plays with my body. The carbs in, the carbs out, just, going long stretches without them, and then I eat some carbs, and so that messes with my body. Are you going to be able to sustain this way of eating for the rest of your life? If the answer is no, and you don't plan on keeping up with this diet, then yeah, there's a greater chance that you're going to gain the weight back within the next few years. You might even gain more and be heavier than what you were before you started the diet. So, and in reality, if you don't plan on sticking with it and eating healthy the rest of your life, if you're so ingrained in this American culture of overeating and eating fast food all the time, and you can't kick those things out of your life permanently, you're going to gain the weight back. That's just the way it is.
A huge number of people who gain all of the weight back within 3 to 5 years. And you know what? 83% of people gain back more weight than they lost. So if you've ever been in that boat of losing 10 pounds, gaining 15, losing 30, gaining 60, you're not weird. You didn't fail.
Yeah, you did fail. I don't say that to be mean, but that's a failure. And I put myself in that boat. I've done that myself. Gained it, lost it, gained it back, gained even more, lost it. And so that's why I decided weight loss surgery was right for me, is because it was a permanent change. I'm not going to allow myself to grow my stomach back out because I go back to overeating. Like, that's just something I'm not going to do. So did something pretty permanent, to which I'm going to eat very, very little for the rest of my life. And if I do end up stretching my stomach back out, well, I have the option of doing the bypass. And that's an even more permanent of a change. That completely, that removes my stomach. Like, I'm not going to have a stomach anymore. And so again, while it is possible to gain weight back, this diet forces me to change my eating habits that I'm going to take with me for the rest of my life. Like, we should not have to be part of this overeating culture anymore. You got to find permanent solutions. If that's weight loss for you, that great. If weight loss surgery is not for you, then you have to find a diet that you can work with. Something maybe like Weight Watchers, I think, is the most sustainable diet, because it still allows you to eat the things that you want to eat. But you just got to watch what your points are. If you use something like MyFitnessPal, which is free, you don't have to pay to use that app, but it'll give you a certain amount of calories and sugar and fat and whatever carbs to use throughout the day. You can eat whatever you want as long as you're within those numbers, like your macros. So you could eat whatever you want. You can still have that piece of cake. You can still have that piece of pizza. You can go out with your friends. You could have that Taco Bell. But as long as it stays within your calorie limit, you're going to lose weight. So find something that's sustainable for you for the rest of your life, and you won't gain the weight back.
You're totally normal. You're absolutely and totally normal. It's a totally normal physiological response. So, okay, you might be thinking, well, maybe I'll be in that 5%, right? Maybe I'll be in that 5% that keeps some weight off. Generally speaking, the majority of that 5% is keeping off 4, 5, 6 pounds. Not a lot of weight. And of course, there are those outliers. There are those people who, lose a bunch of weight and keep it off past 5 years. But they are outliers. They are not the norm. And they're not what anybody should base their own experience on or their expectations on.
I mean, that's kind of true. Everybody's different, so everybody's results are going to be different.
If weight loss doesn't work, it doesn't work. And just leads to this cycle of dieting that everyone calls yo-yo dieting. And people sort of understand that yo-yo dieting is a bad thing. But really, all dieting is yo-yo dieting. It really is, because it doesn't work. So you go on another diet and another diet and another diet.
So what do you suggest? That people stay fat? That they just give in to their obesity? That they ignore all the consequences and diseases and illnesses that result from obesity? Like, that's your suggestion here? That dieting is bad? That being overweight is okay? Like, at least you're trying to get something under control with your dieting. Yeah, your diet might fail and you might try another one, but at least you're trying. I mean, you feel amazing when you lose weight, and that's a great thing. And I get it. You feel bad when you gain weight, but that doesn't mean you need to give in and say, okay, I really feel bad that I gained weight, but that's society's fault. That's not my fault. People are looking at me differently because I gained a couple pounds on the scale. Really? Like,
so if dieting doesn't work, well, you probably are thinking, well, I'm hearing all these bad things about obesity, right? And fat. Like, it's so bad to be fat. We hear about the obesity epidemic all the time and the dangers of fat. Well, I'm here to tell you that fat is not dangerous the way you think it is.
I don't even know what she's about to say, but I already know she's lying through her teeth. She's trying to normalize obesity by saying it's not a problem. The science is wrong. You can be fat and be healthy. You can be fat and beautiful.
There are instances in the medical literature and in research that talk about the obesity paradox. So what is the obesity paradox? Well, it's this instance that happens again and again and again where obesity seems to have a protective effect. Here are a couple of examples where obesity or fat, I like to use that word, just fat, has a protective effect.
Yeah, another person who says that obesity is a slang term. It's a bad derogatory term, but fat is okay. I'd rather be called obese than fat. Okay? Fat is not a good word. Just like she cried when somebody called her fat when she was younger, but now as an adult she's embracing the term fat. That doesn't make sense to me.
One is type 2 diabetes. So people with type 2 diabetes who are fatter actually have a longer life expectancy than thinner people with type 2 diabetes, right? And what do we tell people with type 2 diabetes?
But a lot of the fatter people with type 2 diabetes, if they lose the weight, that diabetes either goes away completely and they're cured from it, or the symptoms of their diabetes is really regulated and controlled a lot better versus being overweight. So I don't know what kind of study showed that you live longer if you are fatter and have type 2 diabetes. I don't think that's true. Like, she's using some sort of outlier study maybe. I don't know. It's impossible to live a longer, healthier life with fat and diabetes at the same time. Like, fat itself, without the diabetes, has a lower life expectancy.
All the time, well, you have to lose weight, right? You have to watch your sugar and your carbs, and you should do some stress reduction, but you have to lose weight. Well, we're giving people wrong information all the time. It shows up again and again. It shows up with strokes. People who are fatter who have strokes tend to heal better after stroke.
Really? She's really encouraging you to stay fat, because if you have a stroke, if you have diabetes and all this, you're going to fare better if you're fat than if you're skinny. Really? But being overweight increases the risk of stroke and increases the risk of diabetes and increases the risk of heart attack. Like, we're not saying that just because you're skinny, you can't have a heart attack, you can't have a stroke, you can't have diabetes. We're not saying that. But being overweight increases the risk of those things.
Better post-stroke outcomes. People who end up in post-surgical ICU, they have a better chance of surviving and thriving after post-surgical ICU if they're...
That's not true either. Like, there's a reason why my doctor wanted me to lose weight before he would do weight loss surgery. It's because the recovery times are worse if you're bigger. There are more risks even having surgery at all if you're bigger. So while there might be some outlier data that says that, you fare better after surgery, it's like the risks of surgery itself. Like, your doctor's going to have to weigh the risks of whether or not they can perform that surgery on you to begin with. If you got into a car accident. Like, I've been told several times, like, if I had some sort of kidney issue and one of my kidneys went out, number one, I would not be able to find a replacement, because they're not going to give a healthy kidney or a healthy liver to somebody who is overweight. They're just not going to do that. And two, they might not even find worth it to do surgery on somebody who is overweight. Like, what she's talking about here is a complete lie.
They're fatter. And this is just a couple of instances. There are certain types of cancers where this shows up. There are a number of instances where this shows up. And I want to be clear, I'm not suggesting that thin people should try to get fat for their health. But I think that the point is that maybe fat and thin don't matter quite as much.
She's lying. She's absolutely lying. It does matter. 100% it matters. She's trying to ignore the consequences of obesity. She absolutely is. And she's telling a lie to herself and to everybody else that's saying being fat is okay because it has some protective measures. Well, that's why I got fat probably to begin with. As I've talked about before, I've been physically, mentally, and sexually abused most of my life. And so, in a way, becoming fat was a protection around myself. Now people don't mess with me, right? But that's the wrong way to think about it. Because I'm creating all these other additional issues in my life because fat is not healthy.
Maybe they really don't matter as much as we think they do.
All right, I'm going to leave it right there. I think this video's gone on long enough, so just a little more than half. If you want to watch the rest of it, I'll try to leave the link down below. But yeah, that's an utter lie that she's telling. She is just not being honest, and I don't know what else to say. These fat positivity people are driving me crazy, but hey, it's giving me more things to react to and talk about on this channel. Anyways, if you like this, please leave a comment. Let me know down below what you think. Please leave a like. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. And don't forget, tonight, my live stream with Cassie Nova. It's going to be a great one. And I hope to see you guys there tonight. God bless you.